Peace, everyone. Shabbat Shalom. Greetings. Let me know if you can hear me. Let me know if you can hear me. That will be good. Greetings. I see a couple of new faces, well, new names. Let me know if you can hear me. That would be good. Um, but Shabbat Shalom to everyone. It's great to be in space. It's great to share space and time with you all. I'm going to try to speak a little bit over the music. I decided to add a little bit of music. Let me know how you like it. I'm going to take it off pretty soon because it's too much. All right. All right. Please, it's good to hear you all. Is the music too much? Or can I leave it on for a little bit? All right. Everybody is in here. Greetings, Chief Yuya, peace and Shabbat Shalom. I will Ramadan Kareem to you and to everyone. Paco Bahamas, greetings. MVC, Randy. Cruz Alvarez. The queer, the peaceful friend, peace. Well, we all about peace here. Well, top tier speakers, Jeremiah Mine, Sham the Joy. We can hear, okay, it's not too loud. All right, good. All right, it's nice and smooth and easy, so I like that. All right, so we're going to jump right into our SHEMA build this evening. We were a little bit delayed, but we are still here. We're going to build, we're going to have fun, we're going to talk and chat and share. And for those of you who you're accustomed to being here and you're always here on the, on the ball, thank you. Thank you for coming through and always sharing space. And if you are new, this is what we do. We are a new and new. That rhyme. So I am going to just say, let us greet the Sabbath with joy and let us honor the Creator by honoring each other. Let us be able to, pause and reflect on our own journey, right? Whether it's a journey this strong or a journey through the Ramadan season so far, or the journey through the year so far. And, pay attention to those aspects of ourselves that we must change and change them. But also in this word song, I want to say too that that every walk and every talk that we do is to the glory of the Most High. So let the words of your mouth and the meditation of your heart always be acceptable in the eyes of the Most High. Yeah, that's what I will for each of us this evening. All right, I'm going to start off with just in Anu fashion, always greeting everyone, but also saying we have gratitude and express gratitude to the Most High and gratitude to Chief Yuya for creating this space, right? He's the author of the text that we always delve into on SHEMA. And so I'm going to read an excerpt from the beginning of the text. Preface, right? Somebody could read it for me at this point, right? Because we've read it so many times over and over again. It reads, this book is not to be read, not to be read only once. Read the words of this book of knowledge and wisdom out loud. Discuss the convictions of this work with your Anu brothers and sisters. Share this information with your people, all right? And if you are not Anu, you have the opportunity to become Anu. And in the meantime, between time, you can still share this knowledge with the community, your family, your relatives, and your brothers and sisters as well. This publication should be read daily. Every line in this book can be taken out of context and studied on the strength of its own potential. The truth is to be deliberative. Let's deliberate. All right. We are continuing our SHEMA build within the section on economy, and that's very fitting because a group of us, the Anu sisters, we were exposed to some basic money management, like a basic money management workshop, right? It was very insightful. I learned a lot, and I think we're could tap in some of those new knowledge, and learning in tonight's build. All right. So I'll read the excerpt. We're looking at, I think it was paragraph 3 under the section on economy. It reads, we lose much of our wealth because of unwise choices in friends, mates, and acquisitions. Sometimes we seek an extravagant lifestyle that encourages excess and gluttony. These lifestyles cause us to ignore the financial warnings that our new law provides us. We become drunken with superfluous pursuit of luxury, and in that drunken stupor, we make dangerous choices. We should not move through the world as thoughtless beings, right? So no unconscious. All right. So let's take it piece by piece, right? We lose much of our wealth because of unwise choices in friends, mates, and acquisitions. And when I read this piece, I just had tons of memories of wasted time, wasted resources, and wasted time and resources on things that are entertainment, right? Not appreciating assets, but just entertainment or adventure, right? Things like that. So I had to reading this piece allowed me to pull back a little bit and actually re-examine myself again when it comes to finances and money, but more importantly, wealth, right? And I had to say, well, what were these unwise choices? Not that I didn't make unwise choices, because there were many, but I had to look at how the lifestyle that I chose to live actually was a result of those unwise choices, right? And sometimes it was kind of like trying to keep up with the Joneses, as they say. I know that's a thing, or maybe it's old, but that term anymore. But that type of mentality actually put me in a space where, there was no savings, and I would say, there was some savings, but the focus was always, it was almost like someone getting a hit, right? Well, I don't know what that is. I'm not to make that correlation, but every Saturday I would off hiking or off on a new adventure, and for many years I never paid attention to how much money I would actually shell out going through those experiences and living for the next one. I always just, like my focus was just, do I have enough for the next one? That's it. That brought to mind one of the quotes from the Anu Way that we actually revisited a couple strongs back, because we were in a different section and we were talking a lot about family. We were in family section for a long time. The quote I wanted to read was, the decision to create family and whom to engage in the revered work with is one of the most important judgments we can make in our entire lives. The first being deciding which God we choose to serve. So I thought this was profoundly connected, because if we are driven by purpose, and that purpose is rooted in creating family and we are driven by honoring the Most High and deciding on the Most High, Yahweh being the God we serve, right? Then we wouldn't serve the God of acquisition. We wouldn't serve the God of desire or money or things, acquiring things, or people pleasing, right? So, I thought about that, and I thought about the fact that people who are driven by that purpose already know, hey, this is where I need to be. These are the things that I need to plan for. And if that's the case, then yeah, you won't spend copious amounts of your salary, your wealth and money, or your wealth, right? I'm saying or because these are different. You won't spend that on you. Take your wealth and spend it on those things. You'll spend it on assets. You'll spend it on investment, right? And we'll go into a little bit about the charge and who has a charge or a law or laws for us that are ideal to follow because it helps to ensure that we're all functioning from a place where we understand how to use money. And I am learning this. I'm old and I should know a lot of this, but I don't. And I'm learning, right? I'm in a place where I'm learning, and I'm glad to learn. I'm glad to learn. I'm gonna pause, and I'm not gonna type this question because, as I shared very quickly, one of the things that actually allowed me to burn my money. I was looking for the phrase. Allowed me to burn my money without even thinking about it. I want you to share in the chat very quickly what was one of the ways that you burned your money, right? Losing wealth by making unwise choices. Many times those choices are rooted in desire or people pleasing, or you just didn't have it head on at all, right? She shared earlier, everybody's greeting each other. All right, great, great, great. She says one of the worst money moves a person can make is not asking for help with figuring out investments. They end up falling for scams, pulling out of investments too early, being too emotional. Right, interesting. One of the things that I know you shared when we went through our basic money management course, well, the first part, was the idea of being able to and not in those words. So I want to say those that's not this is not verbatim, but you were really kind of saying if you're making investments, it has to be something where you're diligent and there's a level of discernment but consistency as well. It can't just be like market crashes, pull everything. You have to be willing to diligent and make investments. Chief says, oh, everybody's greeting Deidre Sully, Sister Deidre Sully, and PH, peace and welcome. And I think I saw Emma Precious above. I don't think I greeted the greetings, and Brother Zach as well. I think I saw your name on the screen. All right. Chief also says, look at that beautiful name on that screen. Now we know that it is an ancient bloodline, Semitic woman. Give thanks. Give thanks. My attribute is empowering. My attribute identifies. It identifies my culture. It does. Sam says addictive habits is smoking. Okay, so you blew that wealth, blew the money on smoking. And it's interesting because we think, oh, it's smoking, so we just need maybe cigarettes. But if it's not cigarettes, then it's, you need paraphernalia and everything else to go with it. Plus, you need to kind of keep down the loud at bay and all of that. So it becomes a whole show in a sense, trying to feed that monster of desire or that lower part of ourselves, and that's what I was doing too, right? Constantly seeking. It was also getting away. So I was literally paying to get away from the city, and to get out, just to get away. It was an escape, right? Sister Priya says it is a beautiful name fitting for a beautiful. Thank you, thank you, thank you very much. Thank you. So, all right, so Deidre Sully is sharing one of the ways she was in all the wealth. All right, let's see. Shopping. You know, a little later on down, I talk about this type of therapy because it's interesting. I've heard people put these two things together: shopping therapy, and it's like those two don't go together. They don't go together. They don't match. No, they do not. Um, Sister Deidre also says just because I could, so shopping just because she could, then later she would turn around and wonder where the money went. Exactly. I did the same. I'm sorry, I have thorns on me. I did the same. I would spend the money again. Of course, I would always make sure bills are paid for and like a little savings are put away, little small. Can you imagine? That's how small it was. But I made sure that every new trip, if we're going to Vermont, um, the money down. If we're going to hike up in what do you call it, Beavers, whatever in Maine, I'm there. If we're going south, I'm there. And that was my priority. That was like Sam the Joy smoking. That was like Sister Deidre's shopping. But when we know better, we do better, right? And Anu charges us to not just to know, but apply, right? So that would make for less unwise choices, right? So we're moving away from unwise choices to wise choices. But in order to make wise choices would indicate, of course, wisdom. It means that we have to gain knowledge and apply it, right? She says, buying a house for my own private residence was one of the most damaging money moves I've ever made. Interesting, because in here, I wanted us to touch on the idea of depreciating versus appreciating assets, right? Assets and items that we acquisitions, right? Because it says it right here, unwise decisions, and maybe for someone else that would not have been an unwise decision, but for you, you're saying that was one of the most damaging money moves you've ever made, and maybe you like to share why, um, and it's not because it's you that I'm asking to share why, but it's just because of the way you phrased your response. All right. But thank you for that. Zach Latimer, Brother Zach says, I would burn my money on clothes. What? Burn them? Wait, I don't have a lighter. Burn the money. Wow, on clothes. I thought at one point that I can only wear polo, tank tops. You wore tank tops? Tank tops, socks, and all. Burning all my little dough. Right, listen, I was burning all my little dough too. Wrong. I didn't know men wear tank tops though. So I'm reading tank tops and I just kind of had to double take on it. Tank top. You know, so that goes back to the Sister Deidre's point on shopping, right? Because these unwise choices for acquisition. But I had friends in the past who would do the same. It wasn't because they wanted to acquire. It's not because they really wanted the things. They indulged in that shopping therapy because they were trying to please others. They saw that, oh, this is kind of what you're supposed to do. Somebody told them that this is what you're supposed to do when you start making. So you just they follow suit. They did the same without realizing that it's not about that. Like there's a term and a phrase that I want to introduce. I'll introduce it in the next when we get to the next sentence. But there is that bit of respecting the fact that you can wait, right? It does, you can wait. The peaceful friend. This is my first time seeing your not muñeco. Sorry, your avatar. Thank you. All right. So greetings and welcome. Two ways I burned my money was investing in investments with little knowledge of what I was investing in and eating out. Oh boy. So you were eating out and investing. So one thing on in and the other thing on the out. You are eating out and investing. Eating out will blow your money fast. I mean, it's no, we are so it's crazy. There's so many price hiking and price gouging and so on when it comes to eating out. But I'm assuming you're talking about the past. Eating out has always been very expensive, and I think a lot of that is shifting now. Knowledge, investing with little knowledge of what I was. Yeah, knowledge definitely. Sorry, investing definitely requires knowledge. You have to build the knowledge, but you have to apply it. So at some point, you have to have created an investment portfolio and begin to identify stocks or bonds or other funds that you would have, found deemed sensible to invest. But I definitely understand what you're saying. Lacking that knowledge of investment. Cruz says pleasing people continued request for aid for spending on lifestyle. Right. Oh, pleasing people's continued. Yes. Yes. I have had a little bit of that too, and in the past, so many times people will come back and they'll say, okay, finally I scraped it together. Here it is, and I would just say, now you have it. Now keep it, and use it. So I definitely identify. I can cruise with that, trying to please other people by supporting them, right? Giving them aid upon request. What was the question again? In what ways have you burned your money or your wealth or made unwise choices that led to loss of wealth? All right. If you need me to repeat it, I will. Imaquia. Sasata Gertrude says Morea suits her perfectly. Oh, thank you. It does, just nestled right on in there. Yeah, it's just like Cruz says also paying people thinking that they can. That's we're gonna take that whole piece you just said there and put it off into a category on its own. Agreed. I think that is and has been another way that I can identify and connect with you all on those losing wealth by making wise choices. Utilizing, investing in education is right. That's an investment. Investing in my, for example, the peaceful friend. Thank you for sharing. The peaceful friend shared that one of the ways he or she earned money was by or made unwise choices, which led to the loss of wealth, was making poor investments because of the lack of knowledge. And I would say utilizing your wealth, utilizing money or your financial resources to increase your knowledge is an investment. It is a legitimate investment. It's actually, and we learned the term for this particular form of currency, which I'm going to quiz you all on in a minute. So get ready with your clickers. Nah, I know you don't have clickers, but get ready with your thumbs so you can drop some answers in the chat. um, but yeah, that education is important. But I am pointing to education because I want to make sure that we distinguish the difference between the idea of the spiritual liberation you're referring to, Aki Cruz, and education. Because I'm doing it because in the past, that seeking the spiritual experiences and all these spiritual workshops and so on, that spiritual liberation I saw by categorizing it as education, you know, without realizing that all I have to do, I had to pick up my, you know, pick up the good book. I had to pick up scripture and read, but also invest in actual financial education, right? So thank you for that. Thank you for sharing those because I definitely identify with everyone. Ima Precious Stephanie says, answer, overindulgence spending on youth and self, luxury car and lifestyle to match, all unnecessary and wasteful. And this is true. This is true. And, you know, I think we sometimes we overlook the fact too that many times we are being fed in very subtle ways, and sometimes not very subtle ways. And then sometimes we're just making the decision and making unwise choices on our own, right? It's not, nobody's, you know, standing somewhere with a fan to make us buy something. But in many cases, we opt for a luxury, or you may have opted for the luxury vehicle, and the luxurious lifestyle because there are these subtle influences that kind of, you know, they push us, right? It's a force, pushing us toward valuing certain secular values, and in doing so, we rob ourselves of holding on to wealth and actually really attaining wealth, you know. And there is a distinction between money and wealth, right? There is, but many of the unwise choices that we're all sharing actually the demise of our wealth stores or resources. Yeah, she said retail therapy. Long time ago, I'm so behind. Oh my goodness. Let me see if I get this. Oh, I'm behind. Answer number 2. So Chief has a second answer. I should clarify in that mortgaging a house for a private residence was damaging. I see. That's from the previous. I have bought homes outright using myself as a bank, and that was sound. Thank you. That is great wisdom, right? That's great wisdom. And I think that is the peaceful friend. I think this is definitely an opportunity for you to, you know, grab up this piece of investment knowledge, because here you have Chief sharing that was actually a detriment. It was not a boss move. But he said it was economically sound. Yes, I agree. Zach Latimer says, speak on it, Cruz. I spent money like that too, thinking I was getting authentic African spirituality. Very true. Very true. And it's not. It's not. You know, what is African spirituality even? You know, that's a whole other thing. Top tier speaker says overspending on food. Okay, so everything that has been shared so far, I have been, you know, I need to take my hands right because I'm in that boat too. I think someone referred to it as being like a food snob or something. You know, I've been that way. Not because I want to style on anyone and say like, you know, I could afford this food. It's because you know, I got caught up in the idea of feeding the body a high quality food, and what that does is, you tend to think that high quality would should be purchased from this particular company or that particular company, which is not true. And I have learned that over the years. So I no longer, overspend based on what I think is quality. But the Cruz says over here, everyone likes to do the Cuba training, starting fee. Okay, well, $5,000 for the starting fee. What is the Cuba training? I don't know what that is. Sorry. Can you share a little bit? And I know I'm way behind, so let me see if I can move faster. Imakuya says I spend money on food, clubbing, fronting drinks. Listen, these phrases, I don't know what is fronting drinks for my daughter. So there's a lot here. There's a lot here, and we're gonna get to the good part. We're gonna get to the other side of that coin, because a lot of the sisters and brothers sharing in the chat are new, and we are charged to move beyond what was. We're charged to be more, 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 yeah. So we're charged to be more, and so other side of the coin is what I want to hear some of you share, but I'm going to read one or two additional pieces. Chanda Joy says yes, and that addiction led to more spending without any regard. Right. MTC Randy says, I used to burn money on alcohol in my younger years. I was a double shot away from being alcoholic. These phrases, I'm like, what is it? I would try different types of higher end drinks. I had an unwise choice of friends at that time. Right. So now you have this example here is really, it's a great example of like making those unwise choices in friends, because that then influences your cash flow, right? Or your lack thereof, right? Or your burning of the Kriya says, I spent money simply because I had it to spend. Right. Kind of like when Sister Deidre says, yeah, like I just went because I wanted shopping therapy, retail therapy, she says. And Nerova was like, well, where's the money? Where did it go? Definitely. Greetings, and Master Antonio Smith. Greetings, Master Menion. Sorry. Thank you, Sister Deidre. That was a spirit of consuming. It was a spirit of just taking. Folks use the same statement: "You only live life once," to justify spending it. If I only live life once, then I want what I need to do is to make sure that life I live is to the glory of the Most High, and not to the glory of my base needs, right? She says it was damaging for me because I really never messed up money on common consumerism. I see. But following what I thought was the intelligent procession for people who had riches, right? Which is, sometimes it's the people pleasing. Sometimes it's like people. I'm sorry. Go back and you said. Sometimes it's those that we surround ourselves with. They give us the impression that this is naturally what you do. Fully well knowing that they don't know, right? What they did was mimic someone else's mannerisms, mimic someone else's behavior, and probably impressed upon us, this is how it should be. Or you, sorry, not us, you, this is how it should be. And we went along with it because we think, right, this is what you should do. So thank you for that. I had already owned investment property and homes by 21, but was told I should have a big house in a prestigious zip code. I did that big house, earned nothing, but it was a fiscal liability. Right. These are, you know, when we think about the things that we acquire or attain that are assets, we have to, you know, like we have to think about whether that asset increases over time or it decreases. Yes, Sham, that's correct. Yes, yes, yes. All right, I am 9 minutes behind. Let me see. Whoa, whoa. So, thank you for being patient with me. I am moving like molasses tonight. All right, let me see if I can fire up the engines and move faster. She says you possibly live. He says that to Imakuya, you possibly live a physical existence once or so. You would think we should honor it by being good stewards of what we may have only one time. Truthfully, we live more than one time. Right. Okay. All right. I am a she. Okay, good. Now I know the peaceful friend. Now I know. Yes, that's a good point, Chief. I didn't think of it that way. If that statement were true, we would be more wise in our spending. Yes, we would. That's definitely a good conclusion. Very, very good conclusion. Antonio Smith said, Master Menelek says, spending money on addictive habits like smoking and drinking. Also, same on the investing without proper knowledge. Right, right, right. That seems to be a big one. That seems to be a big one. The smoking and drinking, and then investing without proper knowledge. Right, right. An example of one of my poor investments was a car that was a fixer upper. Oh boy, what happened with the fixer upper? Oh Betty, broke down. Depreciating asset. Depreciating asset. But the crew says you're not wasting money, you are squandering the inheritance of your children. If you are making unwise choices and not learn how to invest small amounts I did earn so I can have that wisdom. Huge regret, right? So you did not educate yourself and then take the little that you earned and invest it so that it could grow. You know, and we're charged. That's what we're charged to do. And it makes me think about if we can't be trusted with that small amount, you know, like to make it expand or increase exponentially, then maybe we just won't be given more. You know, maybe that's what happens. We just don't get more. You know, Jeremiah, greetings, peace, and welcome. Not paying attention to the seasons and people please. He says, falling for the treat yourself notion. The minute I taste a bit of stability and when it's time to hardship or to be still, the harvest is too small. Right, right. Precious Stephanie says, my consumerism was an attempt to take hold of the illusion of value. Ah, today I know my immense value lies within it comes from my connection to Yah and obedience. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. That's a huge part of our value as women. It's that connection that builds the spirit of the Messiah and that submission piece. A few people are agreeing with you, Jeremiah. Mine, Brother Antonio says, trying to upgrade prematurely as soon as I get a little extra money. Right, right. It's that. I think it goes back to Chief, one of Chief's earlier statements, which is like, you know, not be, you know, being emotionally imbalanced and not like really, you know, making decisions sensibly. You know, it's just, oh, I got it. It feels good. I should do this. Boom, you do it without really slowing. All right. One of the things I wanted to share as well too was when we make unwise decisions, it's because we're not rooted in purpose, which is why I read the first statement about our first decision being deciding which God we serve. Because if I serve a God of materialism, then acquisition is going to be the unwise decision that I repeatedly make throughout my journey. And that will cause me to lose wealth, right? And or well, money might drip into my life, right? It may not like roll on in storm, it'll just drip into my life. So I definitely think that a big part of that piece of losing wealth because of the unwise choices is because we're not moving in purpose or rooted in purpose. And when we lose sight of the vision that the Most High gave us, which is the promise that He gives us, when we lose sight of that, we entertain the foolishness of the world. And that's, again, materialism and acquisition. Always. She says treating yourself typically means some level of poison. So we mentally associate achievement with poison. Great way to treat yourself, get down, do 20 push-ups. True. This is true. This is true. Your body will love you for it. Well, not immediately. But at that point, it is, you're actually in that moment doing something for yourself that will benefit. So, but somebody taught us that. So Jeremiah mine, and thank you, Chief, for sharing that. Not somebody. We were taught that it is the way we treat ourselves or reward ourselves must be with, food or money or treating ourselves in that way. Who taught us that? Where did we learn those things, and why do we have to perpetuate those same behaviors? Why not select new behaviors? Piano. All right. Piano. Men elect. Yes. I will remember that one. Thank you very much. That was at 9:07. So I'm kind of Cuba training is where people from the region who pursue indigenous sciences fly to Cuba for spiritual initiations. Oh, they go to Haiti also. Cuba is more at the forefront. I see. Oh, interesting. Okay. My time in Cuba exposed me to a little bit of that. But as that says, by putting their money in one pocket and switching it to the other. Huh? What was that, Brother Zach? What's the switching the money from one pocket to the next of all? I don't know. Brother Cruz says, a way that I burnt money was not investing in it, especially in my early years. Pursue knowledge and wisdom. Its companion will accompany you. Very true. All right. But there's a 10-second delay. I always hear that, so I'm gonna lean on that tonight. I'm hoping 20 seconds buy me a whole minute. Simplest way. A house is $150,000. You borrow $150,000 from yourself to buy. A very crude example, but you can use other ways to borrow against stock holding or things like a home equity line of credit, right, for the house. So instead of putting all of it in your name, you're using other forms of investment to come up with the $150,000 for the house. So you're not borrowing it as it. All right, thank you for that. So again, the Peaceful Friend and Jeremiah Mine, some more, and this is for all of us, but I'm just calling out the new names and new faces. That's another piece of wisdom to add to your point about that economically unsound decision, buying a home for his residence, right? MGC says, Ra, greetings, Ra. Thank you for joining us. True Chief, I would treat myself to a drink when I had small accomplishments. Then, when short on funds or unhappy with my lifestyle, I would drink again. I see. it became a perpetuating cycle. Treat yourself is usually junk food and overspending on a trip or article. Right. The expenditures corrode your wealth. Right, right, right. And this is true. All of these things, the clothing, the food, the drinks, all of these are the acquisitions that this piece is telling us about. And these choices are unwise because they are not fueled by knowledge and discernment. Right? You're not looking at the truth of what's happening in front of you and saying, nah, nah, nah. You know what? Why would I spend my last, you know, buck on a drink? You know, because yeah, maybe I'm a bit down or so because this, that, or the other, or I'm gonna treat myself, but the way I treat myself is to actually treat myself badly because I'm buying poor food to put into my body. So it makes sense. And these choices, like they balloon so quickly over time, like the patterns just become a part of what we do, and then the choices no longer become choices; they just become patterns that we get stuck in. And because it's a pattern, it's repeated over and over again, and because you're feeling gratified because you're either getting the food you want or getting the drink or getting the smoke that you want, you don't think anything of it. You don't. But Anu pushes us beyond the earthly desires, right? And I want to pull on Proverbs 3, 5, 6. Can I have someone help me drop Proverbs 3, 5, 6 in the chat, please? Let's see who's on it. Let's see who's on it. We moving and grooving. Let me see who's on it. Proverbs 3, 5 to 6. And that's a beautiful piece because it lets us know that we have to trust. We have to trust. We can't lean on what we think is the right way for us to work with money. It can't be that way because we'll always make decisions based on what our lower nature entices us to and desire, right? Because who doesn't want to treat themselves? Everybody wants to treat themselves. You want that. Jeremiah says, Bandit, Antonio, what didn't happen with the fixer upper? Oh boy. Oh, Benny. Yes, peaceful friend. He said, get down and do it. Do it. Do those 20 push ups. All right. So, this is an investment course I thought about while Maria was speaking. All right. Albert Antonio says, I am familiar with using the equity in a home to make other purchases, but I wasn't aware you could borrow from yourself. Would it be similar to seller financing? Chief Yuya? All right, so Chief Yuya will be sharing on me. He knows it. He's like, Chief. But Antonio also says 5. Thank you. Trust in the Lord. Trust in Yah with all thine heart and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all the ways acknowledge him and he shall direct thy path. That's right. So if you're leaning on your understanding, you're going to be making the decision to treat yourself. But in reality, you shouldn't be treating yourself. Maybe you don't need to be treating yourself. Maybe what you need to do is make an investment in your head. All right. Sham says, trust in the thank you. So we have two references. Well, we have two people who thank you. So Chiefs is responding to Brother Antonio. Says, seller financing just excludes a bank. You can borrow against retirement accounts, whole life insurance, commodities, or do a secured loan using your own savings. All right, so you can borrow against hard and soft commodities, and that piece about whole life insurance, yeah, it is so it's so deep. I had insurance and I did not even realize that it was not even valuable until I had to take a look at it again. So, when he says using that whole life insurance, I remember him sharing that that's the life insurance that I actually want to get. Um, because you can utilize it in different ways. And as he's saying here, you can use it, you can borrow again these few items. Jeremiah says a few days of luxury and or the idea of a woman in a not so healthy way is normally my poisonous treat. I see. Well, you're in the right place, so that you can get guidance from the elder men here. He says you didn't take a look at anything. Your covering told you how it was garbage and then directed you to drop it. Yes, that's correct. Correct is right. Oh, how soon they forget. I'm so sorry. Yes, my covering instructed me directly to get rid of that garbage trash. Life insurance. It was not whole life insurance. It was not whole life insurance. But Antonio laughing at me. Okay. All right, let's go to the next piece. The next piece is sometimes we seek. Yeah, it was trash. And my covering told me so. Oh my goodness. It was. All right. I had another question in here, but I lost. I don't think I saved it. So sorry. I'm sorry. I'm going to jump into the next sentence. I'm moving slow. Sometimes we seek the extravagant lifestyle that encourages excess and gluttony. And that goes back to, it makes me think of Brother Zach, the statement when you said, like the retail shopping therapy was the thing too. Well, I don't know if that's what you said, you spend a lot of money on clothing. So I wanted to see if you're still in the chat, can you lead with how do you tend to encourage excess or gluttony, and what do you do to counter that spirit? All right, and that's for everyone. And I want us to talk about how you counter it, because it is a lifestyle of extravagance, but there is a way to function in. And I'm not saying that you have to function from a space of survival or poverty mindset. That's not what I'm saying. But there has to be a level of logic and deferred gratification, right? That's the word I was thinking of much earlier on when we were talking. There has to be a level of deferred gratification in our journey, right? Because it's not everything that we see, want, we should just get. All right, I definitely think that there's a level of discerning and a level of thinking through those decisions, so that we can hold on to wealth and actually grow it so it becomes generational and not just, well, I have. And I think if we can be trusted with, I think this goes back to a statement I made earlier in response to top tier speakers, that if we've been trusted with anything and we've given something small, if we can't be trusted with it, then we won't be given it, right? And in terms of the ideas around extravagant lifestyles and excessive gluttony and so on, I'm going to go back to the idea of submitting to a mission in life, right? Rather than submitting to the desires of our flesh and our lower needs. So submit to something that will put you on a path of purpose, so purpose driven that, again, it goes back to the very first quote. Create family and decide which God you're serving, and that's your mission. And if we stay the course on that, it won't be difficult, but I want to hear from you. What are some things that you tend to do to encourage excess, but more importantly, what do you do to counter the spirit? Because I think we talked about how we encourage it already. So how do you counter the spirit of excess and gluttony? Zach, all right, thank you. Putting things into needs and wants. The show that Chief did on motivation, let me highlight this. Thank you. The show that Chief did on motivation really helped me put things in perspective too, and having a long-term goal and working backward. Right, that planning, right? And it's interesting you mentioned the idea of needs and wants and the long-term goals, because many of us are moving through Ramadan, and that's the charges is to actually have and accomplish a goal during this time. So goal setting is important. If you can goal set, and I'm saying it from a space of I will set goals, but I don't always accomplish them or move on them with seriousness. So many times that leads to the losing of wealth. So managing time is like one of the core things that have to happen. So if you are looking for if anyone tuned in or listening on the back end, and you're trying to think of or find a segment on needs and wants, Brother Zach just shared that Chief covered. He did a midday. Why am I saying midday? He did a motivation. He did a segment, on motivation. He was able to use to help him see needs and wants, and maybe that's something that you'll be able to benefit from. He says those type treats. He's speaking directly to you, Jeremiah 9. He's saying you must guard that, like you do your testes. Without your masculine essence, the world lines up to run a train on you. Avoid succubus. All right, elder wisdom being shared. Grab it up, scoop it up, screenshot it, and hold on to it. Don't forget it. John the Joy says sometimes that reward with gluttony was for something I shouldn't have already been doing. Being shown what I haven't been accountable for was a big wake-up call. Fasting also helps. Very good. Very good. All right. It says a person walking on purpose never wastes any of their resources. This is true. And I have in many ways wasted resources. I think we're talking about moving beyond where we are, but part of that is acknowledging how I have moved in excess and waste. And so the countering it is actually that assessment, that looking back at literally looking at how you have squandered what you have, right? Because this particular piece in economics is talking about squandering what we've been given. Some will say blessings, their resources. Again, I'll go back to the statement that I said before. If you can't be trusted, what you're given, you ain't gonna get more. It's that simple, Netflix says, I had to slow down to make sure. Please, beat a bottle and spoon for me. Did it right. Did it right. Give thanks, Chief. You have so many options exist when you mention them in the Anu and here. Another that I remember is being stuck go to work to earn money is another way to mess up money, thinking that it will always come back to you. Says one of the ways that he counters that spirit of gluttony is by reading labels. Meaning, before I see to consume, I make sure that I am fully aware of what I am buying, eating, and ingesting. That tends to defeat the emotional high of excess. Ah, okay. So there's an emotional high that you perceive when you consume in excess. Is it from a feeling of, is there a feeling of satisfaction? What's actually happening? Is it some sort of dopamine release going on when we perceive an emotional high from excess? All right. Sister Deidre Sully says, this is 2 minutes ago, so not bad. As opposed to the last. Back at 9 o'clock, I was at 10:09. Oh my goodness. So the chat got away from me. Sorry about that. Sister Deidre Sully says, Chief Yuya agreed. Taking a beat to read labels have kept me from making foolish purchases at times. Yes, this is so true. It's so true. Reading the label kind of helps you to pause and say, do I read this? What is it gonna do to my body? Brother Zach says, ain't that the truth? Not know my purpose other than trying to stunt, getting caught up in the wash of what is hot for the moment. True. That can keep you so stuck in cycles. It's worse than, the laundromat. Okay, that was a bad dad joke. Okay, bad dad joke. But she says, word Deidre MPH, didn't your covering catch you some crunchy peat, nutty, gooey, tooth cap busting candy bars? Did he ask you if you read the label and you started cleaning your glass? Yeah. Oh boy. Ah boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. And she says, yup, that's right. Oh my goodness, y'all are rolling in the chat. Sham says she had to clean them to read the labels. Oh, stop it, please, Sham the joy. Clean it to read the labels. She says, I personally don't perceive that high. I am speaking generally. I see. Okay. I don't buy a bunch of things anymore. I like having money and not getting conned by lick marketing peer pressure. Peer pressure? Who does that? Who do you have in your camp that says, let's get this? Who? You said laughing with, not at. All right, I'm not laughing at either. But Antonia says, is this background music by you, Chief Yuya? It sounds a little like the original did on the words of the segment. It is not. Fortunate. I can't get to upload anything yet. This is just like StreamYard's but I thought I chose the best one from there. Oh boy. That couldn't be one of mine. I'm from the rap era. Oh my goodness. Alright, so shopping therapy is an instant gratification, and we spoke about the idea of deferred gratification before. It requires a little bit of patience with us. All right. So there are two things I wanted to touch on. Only because this piece of the text says that we seek an extravagant lifestyle that encourages excess and gluttony. Maybe I want an extravagant lifestyle, but maybe I want an extravagant lifestyle where my wealth is being deposited into investments that grow. All right. And so when we talk about assets, right, you can have assets that are depreciating, but assets that are considered appreciating assets, right? And I think everybody knows like an appreciating asset is equal. But there are things like stocks and bonds that, and even real estate that we can use to help shift our unwise choices in, like just pouring our money, burning our money, sorry, over excess and gluttony. Like I think maybe those are the things we can consider, that excess and gluttony won't necessarily help our wealth to grow or grow our wealth at all or increase us in any way. But I definitely think looking into researching and studying on these will be helpful. I also think what are called currency growth vehicles, right? So this is a quick quiz. Can you name 2 currency growth vehicles that you can use? I think investing in those can help us to counter our unwise choices, lifestyles that are filled with excess and gluttony, right? So taking the funds and reallocating them and making sure they're placed in a maybe a storehouse. For those of you who are new and read, but before I move on, can you name 2 currency growth vehicles? Let me see. Brother Zach says, and investing in things that will be around as long as you. That came from the self-centered show Chief did. It says we went to the street and had the option to get on that lake hike ride, sunbathe, pine tree. That is extravagant to me, even with sleeping on the ground in the night chill. Yes, that was woo. Let's just put that up on the screen for y'all to read and let that marinate. That was extravagant. And there's a huge blessing. There's a huge blessing in being able to acknowledge that. Acknowledge that. And it wasn't just any old retreat, it was a retreat with our airlines. So even more extravagant. Horseback riding. I don't know if that was a official horseback riding. Technically, but it was a beautiful experience. And I would go as far as saying that I would consider that an investment, right? An investment. It helps to grow my bonding and my sharing of space and time and increasing my fellowship with my ALIs. So I would go as far, it's not a currency growth vehicle, but it certainly is a good way to invest, save that money. And instead of acquiring something, putting it into that. All right, top tier speakers for the money: cryptocurrency and stocks. That's 2. Do we have any more? There are a few others. Well that we could share, and I'm looking forward to other sisters jumping in the chat and sharing, or anyone else who has it. Sham Joy says shares and bonds. Yeah. So those are different ways. I wanted us to not just have the conversation around excess and like how we grow our money, but also introduce and share some of what was shared with us, right? And shared with me, that currency growth vehicles, she says, goes to inflation and war. Oh boy. Okay. inflation and war. So sorry. So we have cryptocurrency and stocks and stock. Um, the horseback riding was retreating myself said no. Yeah, inflation. Oh boy. Shares and bonds. Um, here says inflation and war. Right. MGC Randy says life insurance and hard commodities, gold and silver. Very good. Good. Gold and silver. Y'all get the, dropping the wisdom, the knowledge and wisdom. She also says currencies are not valuable in and of themselves. Currency is the vehicle. I see. Currency is the vehicle. Currency is. I understand. I think I understand. Jeremiah says, indeed, the longer I hold the light, the better things go. I'm compromising. All right. Yes. Mutual funds and forex trading. Good. Thank you, Brother Antonio. And Sister Deidre says, gold. It's gold. So I have another. What about art? Right? I thought of art in the form of NFTs, right? The non-fungible tokens. And like, let me know if that's like but I know one of those vehicles is art, and I wondered if an NFT, because it is a form of art, can be included there. Education is one. I was about to say, oh, nobody chose education. That's correct. Education, gold, and gold coming from the east. Education, whole life insurance policy from foundation. To back your business, yes. Chief mentioned that Jeremiah, mind if you scroll up a little bit more. Chief does get into the details of several other options that you could use to borrow against, but whole life insurance is one of them. Collectibles, NFTs, crypto, as taught by Chief. Thank you very much. All right. So these are all different ways that we can counter, I think, our desires to blow money. All right. Okay. Chief is giving us some more direction. Cryptocurrency would not be. Okay, I thought it was. Okay, we're sharing based on what was shared with us. I think that's what's happening. So crypto was one that we learned. So, okay. All right, so strike crypto off the list. A currency vehicle is a medium that will facilitate trade between different currencies. I see. So a crypto exchange can be a currency vehicle. Crypto exchange, so not the crypto itself. All right, I see. So when you say a crypto exchange, you're talking about a platform for that exchange of cryptocurrency? Is that what you mean? Because you're saying crypto itself is not the currency, would not be a currency vehicle. We threw the frog answers. Oh boy. Let's get some right answers in here. But I think we have all. That I know of. We're gonna move on. All right. So the next line actually introduces the fact that Anu provides laws for us. It says these lifestyles cause us to ignore the financial warnings that our law provides. All right. So our new law provides us with, and I'll ask for the most basic and fundamental um, piece of wisdom, right? We know that we should all know how to allocate our money. But what does Anu, let me see who's going to get this one. What does Anu tell us about spending and making investments? Like, I know there are three places we should all place our money or invest our money. What are those three places or three things that we should have immediately or on hand, right? There are three ways that we are charged to invest or hold on to our money or allocate our money. What are those three places or three ways that we should be allocating our money? She continues to say, consider what facilitates exchange between currencies. Right, like a bank, for example. If you have salt as a currency and I have draft checks, how can we transact business? That means of the transaction would be the vehicle. All right, so if I have salt as a currency and I have bank and I have draft checks. All right, so we can I think a bank would be one option. That's like the most basic idea I can think of. A bank would be one way because they'll be able to take that currency and exchange it for you. So that might be one, a bank. A currency exchange, some sort of center currency exchange, which a bank is anyway. Oh my, this is bad. Bad, y'all. Sister Deidre says, but yeah, that's my answer. Bank would be one place. The stock exchange might be, well, not stock exchange. Sister Deidre says storehouse, investment, and savings. Aquarius investment, savings, commodities. I think that last one was wrong. Gold and silver, land, oil and gold, storehouse, investments, and hard commodities. This is correct. Those three allocations are storehouse, investments, and cash in hand. Cash in hand. Credit cards are a vehicle of currency. Thank you. Credit cards are. All right. So those three allocations are the storehouse, the investment, and currency in hand. And remember, there's a key thing to remember about that savings storehouse, right? That's the storehouse is not touched, but it is primarily only used for investment. All right. Thank you, Chief. He gave us another legitimate currency growth vehicle, and that credit cards is one. So Sham says, so for crypto, I think it would be the technology that facilitates it, like open. All right, thank you. So it would be the technology, would be the crypto itself. All right, thank you for that, and thank you, Chief, for land, natural minerals. So natural minerals would be considered a soft commodity. Savings, investments, cash. That's correct, Brother Antonio. Would selling the salt in exchange for the draft checks be the vehicle of currency? All right. We have a question from top tier speakers. The Selling salt in exchange for the draft checks be the vehicle. I I'm thinking the vehicle of currency would be the place that helps facilitate exchange of the. That's what I'm I don't know. Chief, can you help me out, please? Oh, like I don't know. But I think it would be um, what facilitates the exchange between the two. So that's what I was thinking more along the lines of trading salt for coffee. Okay. Jan says, but what would be the vehicle that gives value to the draft check? What would be the vehicle that gives value? I don't know. Well, the question started all the way up here, right back up here. The question was originally, um, what are growth vehicles, and did share that some of the answers we were giving were not growth vehicles. You shared that the growth vehicle is a medium that facilitates trade between different currencies. So it's a medium. And this is what I think Sham is driving at. What gives salt, or what gives these two things current value? And then your question, you asked, if you have salt as a currency and I have draft checks, how can we transact business? That means of the transaction would be so that's us wondering what would facilitate that transaction. That's like, oh, I'm sorry, to help out someone else. I think, okay, Chief, I called on you to ask them help out with, I think it was top tier speakers. I'm getting okay. Oh my gosh. Throw me a pool, please, so I could float, because I feel like I'm drowning in this. Oh my gosh. All right. Top tier speaker says, asks Chief, would selling the salt in exchange for the draft check be the vehicle of currency? But I don't think so, because the vehicle of currency would be the medium, or that thing that helps to facilitate the exchange between the two. I think worship. Sham says you're right with your answer. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Melody, because I know. The chief says nothing gives value to a draft check other than communal agreement. The draft checks are currency. You need a place to take the check where they are honored and can be exchanged for another currency. So, and he says, no, the vehicle would be where you are able to exchange the salt for something. Salt for CAD. I see. Okay. And top tier speakers, let me know if those responses answer your question, please, by putting in confirmation in chat. Thank you very much, Steve. It's very helpful. So much more learning to do. So much more learning to do. So much more learning to do. Thank you. All right. Let me not get lost in the chat. So we have two more. And the last two I'll read really quickly. Well, not really quickly. Like we can do some more discussion. Have some more discussion. We became drunken with the superfluous pursuit of luxury, and in that drunken stupor, we make injurious choices. So this goes back to the unwise choices, but now they're not just unwise, but they're injuring us, causing harm, they're inflicting pain, trouble, problem, right? So money is stored for opportunity, though. Also, if we find ourselves luxury, um, in a drunken stupor, stupor, that's like no sense whatsoever. It's just like you're just moving unconsciously, right? Just moving unconsciously and making decisions that have no weight, right? And that could be a lack of discernment. That could be through a lack of discernment. She says, don't worry, the Anu Way economic work comes out this year. Y'all better read it because I like to talk wealth with the people around me and do rich people stuff. Okay, message received. Message received. So, all right, be on the lookout for the Anu Way economic piece, right? Because then we can build on economy that we're at a deeper level, right? We can go beyond the conversation. I'm sorry, I'm trying to keep off something that's just like going off. Wrong one. Sorry. Sister Queer, what's that face about? Nah, X, wrong. That face expression. What is that about? Top tier speaker says, oh, I see now. Thank you for that. Go on to that. Don't do that. Thank you for the explanation. That's it. Story end. Why event. No, all that other stuff. All are learning and growing. And we'll be learning and growing more because, again, I want to keep it up there for even those who are coming in on the back end and listening on a little bit later on to look out for the Anu Way economic portion, right? Economic piece. Copy a chief. I'm laughing at what she said. Oh, that's a laugh. Ooh. The bulk of our allocation should always be toward growth and less toward storage. All right. So remember at the beginning when I said the storehouse. Well, I didn't say it. Our sisters and brothers shared those three allocations for money should typically be the storehouse investment, cash in hand. All right, and it makes sense because cash in hand is it's really tied into when you think about stuff hitting the fan and things popping off and having currency with you so that you can trade and barter, and probably for other reasons too. So yeah. And who's elbow coughing and why? Oh boy. I'm happy you asked that question, Top Dish, because let's talk. Let's get it worked out. Yes, let's. All right. So the emergencies we may confront and how homesteads move is an important part, and I think a guiding factor when it comes to dictating, and I say dictating for a reason. Some of us we need to be dictated to because we lack the knowledge, and hands red too, right? Red palms, because so we need to be dictated to. All right. So our storehouse is the very first place of untouchable funds, and it is not used. It's part of what is our new law and expectation. And it's not used, but it's not used at all, right? Only for opportunity. All right. So when opportunity comes knocking, it would mean that, hey, opportunity comes knocking. I have discernment. I have knowledge about that opportunity, right? And I'll be an investor. And I've cleared it with an elder in the hierarchy within my community. I've cleared it with my covering. If that's the case, those are things that happen. But you told the storehouse is strategically for that. All right. She says a lien is a currency. Oh, when enforced, a title is a currency by law. I think it's back to yes. Okay. Brother Jeremiah states titles, deeds, liens. Thank you. I think I that. And she says a lien is a currency when enforced. A title is a currency as well too. By law, it cannot be valued at any amount more than the paper. The max is typically $11. A deed? Hmm. So how do you what that is? So how do you if that's the case, how do you prove that you have a deed for land that's worth more than that? I don't know. Just thinking, wondering. Okay, it says, how can we enforce that law? Sam says we did, but that's why we're here to level each other up. What? All right, yeah. Sister Queer, you're gonna have to. I'd like for you to share what law you're referring to, so that way we can address it. Okay, you're having back and forth conversation. He says, then level me up, Sham the Joy. Drop some knowledge on a Jegna. Ooh. drop. All right, let me stop. Sister Clear says, what you said by law, a deed cannot be valued more than the amount of paper printed on. Wait, that doesn't speak to the value of a home or land. Okay, it doesn't. But I'm wondering why. Like how? So then, how do you show and prove what you have? That's why I asked that question. You know, show that value. How does that happen? I don't know. All right, I'm gonna move to the last. It is 10:06. So the ending piece of our SHEMA bill today states we should not move through the world as thoughtless beings. So my closing statement phrase is unconscious creation, right? No unconscious, which would mean we're moving through like thoughtless beings. I want you to quickly share in the chat, and we'll close off with just our shares. When the phrase says we should not move through the world as thoughtless beings, how is it that how are we thoughtless beings when we move through our experiences by making unwise choices? How are we thoughtless in our mannerisms, behaviors, in our decisions? And I'm asking not a general question, but a question that is like a personal question. And you don't have to answer. She says deeds, titles, and liens are based on commercial law. The only way to enforce a law is by a force. You can't enforce Babylon's laws, no matter how much paperwork you submit, unless you have. Okay. So a nation can a nation can enforce if you have a community or an organ that identifies as a nation on paper, will they be able to enforce those laws, Chief? What? Oh, what? Okay, I don't know. I don't want to get lost in the sauce of the fun that. Um, but thank you for that last comment at 10:07, Chief. But yeah, my question was, then can a group who identifies as a nation then she says, is this my SHEMA or yours? What you're asking me? Okay. Good night. Good night, everyone. Thank you very much for coming. She played break, so it's now time to go and glue it back together with some E3 6,000, 5,000. So you can ask a question. But I'll read the last two and then we'll close off because we've been on here a lot. And I know we may probably have a long day tomorrow. So, doing our new things. It's Sabbath, and so we honor the Sabbath. The last phrase, last comment for the thing, Chief says you think that something that Babylon said so. Okay, so somebody else is value that. Okay, this was a good build tonight. There's always so much more to gather and pull from the SHEMA reading. I always think that when we talk about the truth is to be deliberated, there's always a deliberation happening, but there's also growth happening because we're expanding our knowledge and awareness. And now we got to take that knowledge and apply it, right? Do something with it. She says, now you see how currencies are created. All right. Okay, so somebody puts value to it. So a deed, can you say a deed is a form of currency? All right, no more questions because, yeah, good break. Give thanks, everyone. Give thanks to those of you who shared, showed up, you were in the chat, chatting. Those of you I can hear chatting, those of you who see chatting, because I can see my mind's eye. I always enjoy sharing on SHEMA. Thank you, Shabbat Shalom. Enjoy your Ramadan if you are observing Ramadan with us. Focus on the word. Focus on not just the fasting, but go beyond that. Go beyond that. Look at the deeper value of your journey right now. She says, right, would you really value gold if those Anunnaki didn't code it in your DNA? Diamonds also aren't all that rare. So do they power something? Do they power? There's another value to diamonds beyond what we're saying is their monetary or financial. Okay. All right. Peace, everyone. Good night. Good night. Good night. Good night. All your time. My Anu family. See you tomorrow. Peace. Oh, before I go, everybody's probably gone already. Oh my goodness. Please, please, please be sure to join us on Clubhouse. right? Be sure to join the Anu family on Clubhouse every Sunday. Midday Affirmative is hosted by one of our Anu Life Global Ministry members. So drop in on Clubhouse and chat it up. Peace. What?